Joining us now, state senator from the Fredericksburg, Stafford County area, also a candidate for lieutenant governor 2017, Republican Bryce Reeves. Senator, good to have you.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Okay, look, I had you on today because I don't impress easy, but I was very impressed with out a press release and said, look, there's a state central committee meeting coming up on whenever it is, Saturday, right? Starts at 10 a.m. By the way, it's open to the public. It's at the Richmond Convention Center, 10 a.m. And at this meeting, they're going to decide whether or not they have a primary or a convention to select the statewide gubernatorial, lieutenant governor, and AG candidates in 2017. Now, an informal deal was made that happened 12 months ago, which basically the deal was we'd have a presidential primary on Super Tuesday, and then there'd be convention to elect our state Republican candidates in 2017. Now, this was an informal deal. It's not binding, but it was a handshake. And now people are saying, well, you know, I was a state committee then, so it's not bound to me. And so Senator Reeves, who's running for lieutenant, many say is better served. See, this is why I'm having you on, Senator. Many have said you're better served with a primary than you are with a convention, right? That's what many have said.
Sure.
And so, but you put a statement out yesterday and said, look, it isn't about me. We got to do the right thing. A deal was made, and failing to honor that is going to cause a rift within the Republican Party. So you have advocated for a convention, which some people say is not even in your best political interest. Can you elaborate on what motivated you to do that? And by the way, your two announced competitors now, Glenn Davis and Jill Vogel, basically have not weighed in on what type of a nominating preference they want. They both put statements out and said they're fine with anything. You, on the other hand, advocated for a convention. So, with that intro, can you elaborate?
Certainly. I certainly feel, having been a chairman, come from the grassroots, know what the base is about. I didn't always agree with my committee, but the will of the committee is the will of the committee, and a job of a leader is to lead. Right? And if you're going to be lieutenant governor, you've got to lead and you've got to make a stance and you've got to take a position. To sit on the sidelines and not engage is not leadership, right?
Yes.
John, it's that simple. I mean, when Mark Herring took away our Second Amendment rights, I got to work. I not only got them restored, I got them expanded, and the only Republican in the room to do that. So you said earlier, saying it's about doing things, because when it's all said and done, it's not what you said, but how much you've done. And I always learned from my dad, God bless him, he's 79, he's a school bus driver, but he said, you don't come into this world with much, but you do have your name and your honor, and when you make a handshake, it should mean something. And here's the other thing that concerns me. 17 is coming, right? We know it's going to come, but 16 is critically important, and the last thing we need is division in the party right now. We got a candidate. He's our nominee. We start having rifts in the party this early on, right before the November election. That's not a good thing. That's not how you fight warfare. You know, this is an asymmetrical warfare type political campaign. We're having to fight on all fronts. Last thing we need is division among the troops, right? And so there are certainly those, and I see the arguments for both, and you're right. It could potentially not be to my best benefit here. And in order to do that, you've got to bring people together. And, you know, if you want to hammer out another deal or put it in writing or whatever else you want to do for the next time, that's fine too. But, you know, I just wanted people to know that I was going on the record, stand-up guy, and I want to do and be honorable, and that's the honorable thing to do.
You're right. I can tell you right now, you're right. Yesterday on the air, and I'm going to probably do a piece on this as the week closes, I called on John Whitbeck to do the same thing. I'm going to recuse myself and all this. You know, why bother to have a Republican Party chairman? Let's just have a chairman of the month. Pick somebody from the state central, have a chairman of the month. I mean, if you're not going to lead, get out of the way. I think Whitbeck needs to clearly come out in favor of a convention because that's the agreement that was made. And you just said something that I said yesterday. I don't care if you're on the committee or not. A handshake was made. It was in good faith. And if you don't have your word, what the hell do you have? You got nothing.
Right. Right. Well, let me say this, and I'm going to be in defense of John a little bit, too, here, in the sense that I know he's actively working to secure that location, do some of these things, and then there's these false narratives that have been coming out that, what if we lose? There's a U.S. Senate run out the same thing, and you've seen these things. You've read the blogs. You push it back far enough, you can't get a venue. Then by default, you're in a primary situation. And I think there's even more drama now. I think the chairman, and I don't know if it's true. I haven't talked to anybody about it, but that was catching that the chairman was trying to get the Central Committee, which is the governing body of the Republican Party, the opportunity to have some time with the vice presidential candidate, Mike Pence, and had talked about possibly moving that state central committee meeting for the opportunity for that elected group of leaders within the party, the opportunity to hopefully meet the next vice president of the United States. And, there was some drama trying to be drawn up from the base, and it's just wrong. And, John is, he's in a leadership position. He's come out. He's put the actions in motion to do that thing, to secure a convention. But he also has some bosses, and those bosses are the state central governing body. And so, that's in his defense, because I've been a chairman. I've come from the grassroots. You do have to lead, but you also are governed by an elected group of individuals from the party itself.
That's baloney.
Well, so.
That's baloney, Bryce. Okay.
No,
now, you know what?
True,
you know what? We can agree to disagree. That is absolute baloney, because he's the chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia. And you're going to sit there and tell me that he has to stand on the sidelines and we'll let the state central decide? Is he not a state central member?
No,
why is he recusing himself?
But John,
he needs to lead. He needs to lead this effort.
He's putting
Look, he was there.
Into what he's trying to do. I mean, he's certainly. In fact, I'll have to verify. I thought they've already put down a deposit, and I know they've walked the arena to which they were trying to secure for the convention. There's only a certain many locations that you can do that with. If you wait, too long, you're right. That's why the decision has to be made this weekend. Because it's just not going to be available. But the bigger concern for me, and we discussed that, and we can probably come to agreement on that, is that you disrupt the party at this point. It's been hard enough to try to get Cruz folks with Trump folks and all the rest to start linking together to mass our firepower, if you will, to deliver the blow to the Democrats. And last thing we need is confusion and between the ranks. I mean, we can't have that.
Okay, we can agree to disagree. I think the job of John Whitbeck as chairman of the Republican Party is to take a position on this and advocate it to state central. Win or lose. I mean, if you try to be all things to all people, you're nothing, in my judgment. And you're right, though. What we do agree on is voting for a primary is going to tear the party in half. And You're going to do it 70 days out before one of the most critical elections in your lifetime. Absolutely makes no sense. And then any deal that's ever made, any handshake means nothing. But, if you want to go back to the genesis of this whole mess, it's Ken Cuccinelli in 2012, because he engineered the same thing. And by the way, since he's done that, how many statewide offices have you guys won? 0. You're 0 for 9 consecutive losses since Cuccinelli went back on his deal and engineered the takeover. Now, you've got to answer this. This is from Michael in Petersburg. Says, ask Bryce, didn't he spend time endorsing VCN state central candidates a few months ago who were in favor of primaries? True or false?
Well, they tried to, partially true, I would say. Some of those folks, when I got involved in politics, supported me in my run to be the 28-year Democrat incumbent. And, I'm probably loyal to a fault, some would say, because those same people, asked for an endorsement. I didn't know they were going to slate themselves. And I've got them all over the party, whether they be super conservative, whether they be moderates or anything else. I'm loyal to a fault, and I can't control other people's actions, but I can control my own, and I don't think that makes a hill of beans anywhere. So there's all that riff in the party, and that's part of the challenge that we're just talking about right now, right? So what's the best thing for the party to do today in this situation with the presidential election looming in November? Let's get together and let's have a convention, right? That's the best method of nomination, and that's what was agreed upon. Regardless of the outcome for the candidates themselves for 2017, it's the right thing to do by the party today. So, of course, let's move forward.
I respect that, and I respect your loyalty to those that backed you in your state Senate race that were then run central. I mean, if you can't be loyal to the people that stood by you at the beginning, then, you got a bigger issue. So I really respect that, and I respect, Senator, tremendously the fact that you took a position on this where no one else would. Senator, how do you win a convention if there is one?
Well, certainly we're on that pathway to winning whatever the nomination is. We've crisscrossed the Commonwealth umpteen times now. We're out meeting voters where they are, not waiting to fill their mailboxes with multiple mailers and trying to tell them that we're something they're not. When you shake a hand, you look a person in the eye, and you tell them what you're going to do for them. I think that has an impact. We're running based on our record. I think we have a phenomenal record to talk about, and a background that I think a lot of people can appreciate and understand. I've worn the cloth of our country. I was a U.S. Army Ranger. I've served in law enforcement, try serving there now today, and I'm a small business owner, John. I mean, I have to make payroll. I have to put away estimated quarterly taxes. I understand all these things, and that's why we're running, is because there has to be vision and leadership. It's about leadership. The people of Virginia are tired. The people of America are tired for lack of leadership and the willingness to stand strong, stand in the gap, and grow a spine. I mean, that's the reality of it. It's people, not government, as we all know, that create the wealth and provide the growth and ensure prosperity. Government doesn't create wealth. They just consume it. Virginians need the skills. They work hard. They have determination. But it's us, those in elected office that are in leadership positions that have to preserve our freedom and watch it flourish and allow the private sector to do those sort of things. And I think it takes that kind of leadership, and that's what's resonating. I can tell you, I've got my thumb on the pulse. I know where we are.
So, look, I agree there needs to be leadership. Right now, you look at the state of Virginia, Republican Party, we have no statewide elected officials. There's a big vacuum there. That's why, as I said earlier, you got to turn a wit back because he's the chairman of the party right now. Let's get to the Trump campaign in Virginia. We don't have the resources. I'm the vice chair. I can tell you right now, we're getting blown out in every possible way. Organization, offices, people, money, leadership. I've made a plea to New York since Manafort left, who basically hosed us, asking for resources. If we get something, is there a way to turn this around in Virginia in 75 days?
Oh, absolutely. I think a majority of Virginians and Americans are kind of sick of looking at the news. They're also sick of seeing Hillary Clinton slide every time something happens. They just dropped, 15,000 new emails out there. There's connections between the Clinton Foundation and pay to play through staffers at the, I can't remember Hillary Clinton's staffer's name, but, yes. The short answer is yes. Momentum in a campaign can shift from one to the other very quickly based on conditions on the ground. It's warfare, John. I mean, that's the reality. And yes, can we shift after Labor Day? Can we put it all together? Sure. I mean, there's a Veterans for Trump rally on the 26th that's down in Virginia Beach, and that's a very heavily strong veterans population. And so I think there are certain sectors of America and Virginia that tend to resonate towards Trump. If those elements of the party and people that are backing the candidate decide that they're going to engage, absolutely. And it's all about engagement, right? It's get out to vote. It's engagement.
Well, we need resources. We need, as you said, leadership. I couldn't agree more. If there's anything I got out of this conversation, it's your call for growing a spine and having leadership. And right now there's a big void in the state, no question. Sounds like you're trying to rectify that, and I appreciate it. More information, go to BryceReeves.com. BryceReeves.com. He's running for Lieutenant Governor. You can get more information there. Hey, Senator, thanks for being with us. Thanks for standing for something, and thanks for your candor.
Thank you, John. You guys have a great day.
All right. That was Senator Bryce Reeves. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network.